I think the American military over the last few years have been pretty unhappy with their NATO allies, who've just kept cutting their defence spending. I'm pleased to say there's been a change around in the UK. We've now committed to spending 2%, which is considered to be a reasonable number. So, I mean, the problem with NATO is this. You know, you're absolutely right. It was a wonderful vehicle to keep peace in Europe for 60, 70 years. But NATO now does need to redefine itself. What's it for? You know, we don't have the Warsaw Pact. So I'm pro-NATO, I'm pro-cooperation, but it's not a bad thing if we reassess what it's for.
Well, when you ask what it's for, what about what Russia's doing right now in Ukraine? Isn't that what it's for?
Well, hang on. NATO and the European Union openly said they wanted the Ukraine to join their alliances. Putin saw that as a direct threat. So in terms of strategy, in terms of enlargement, NATO needs to sit down and re-examine what it's for.
If I might be so bold, Nigel Farage is espousing a certain policy that Donald Trump agrees with as well, which is that I do believe that you believe that there are spheres of interest, that Russia should have its way in its traditional sphere of interest, and that certainly Donald Trump views leaders like President Putin, even President Erdogan in Turkey, as strong and doing their thing, and we should not interfere in what they do, right? So it's this sort of authoritarian, autocratic bent towards letting other countries do what they think is best in their interest, and America should stay out of it while America, quote unquote, cleans up its own house. America is the leader of the free world. The leader of the free world, which wants to bring democracy, which wants to aid freedom, obviously, which wants to aid, you know, morality and values, all the kinds of things that we've grown up with and we believe are the right way. America first cannot be America first if America is absent. And that, I think, is the takeaway from this.
No, that's fine, but let's be honest. Ukraine is a democracy. It's somewhat corrupt. It is a democracy. And the elected leader of the Ukraine was overthrown in a coup by people who wanted the Ukraine to move westwards and join NATO and join the EU. And all I'm saying is that we should not be... I'm not a Putin fan, but I don't think we should be encroaching on his space.
Nigel,
that does not make sense.
Nigel, listen. Russia signed a deal with Britain, France, and those countries to make sure that Ukraine had territorial integrity in order for Ukraine to voluntarily give up its nuclear weapons. That was in Russia's interest, it was in the West's interest. And Russia violated that by violating, for the first time since World War II, an international border in Europe. This is the kind of thing. Obviously, NATO's not going to war there, Nigel. We know that.
No, but why,
we know that.
Why provoke? Why provoke? It's not necessary.
You can think that.
I do.
Think that, but that's the Putin
but wait,
line.
Help us understand something for a second. Where is the provocation on the behalf of NATO of interceding in a sovereign Ukraine being invaded by Russia?
Well, the invasion took place after the overthrow of a democratically elected leader. All I'm saying is NATO a defensive organisation or is it an expansionist organisation? And that does need to be rethought.
Okay, then let's pick that apart. NATO is a defensive and, if necessary, you know, an attack on one is an attack on all.
Article 51.
So Article 5 of NATO.
Yeah.
So NATO was created, and let's be very clear, because this is important for American foreign policy going forward, that this is the American-led security guarantee for all of Europe, and anything that messes with that and treats that as a purely dollars and cents transactional deal, which it was never envisaged as, and you're right, some countries have started to come forth with paying up the 2% of their GDP.
Which is right.
But to break up NATO is, and to say we're not coming to our allies' defense unless they pay us the money, is a complete break. And it retrenches America into a less safe America. So America's going to retrench, what, behind Fortress Atlantic? And watch the rest of the world go to hell? It's not possible for American security